Hello, you're very welcome to the news on Enter International. My name is Justin Bemwe, and here are headlines. President Muhammadu Buhari makes strong representation to member countries as Organization of Islamic Cooperation Summit ends in Makkah, the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. President Muhammadu Buhari to host leaders of Lake Chad Basin Commission in Abuja. Plus, Speaker of ECOWAS Parliament, Mustafa Siselo, expresses displeasure over non-attendance of members at the close of session. Well, thank you very much for joining us. President Muhammadu Buhari has made a strong representation to member countries of the Organization of Islamic Cooperation to ensure that values of tolerance and moderation continue to guide their actions as they collectively seek to promote global harmony, peace and security. In his address to the 14th Ordinary Summit of the organization in Makkah, Saudi Arabia, the president also urged them to do more in poverty alleviation, combating terrorism and insecurity, humanitarian services, as well as enhancing food security. State House correspondent Adamu Sambu has details.
With the theme Makkah Summit, hand in hand towards the future, the event provided the opportunity for member countries to deliberate on the best ways of addressing contemporary challenges facing them, especially those that have assumed grave dimensions in recent times and require serious and coordinated approach for lasting solutions. President Muhammadu Buhari, who is the third Nigerian leader to attend the summit of the OIC in person, spoke on behalf of African leaders at the closed-door session. He condemned all terrorist acts against member states and stressed that the fight against the menace should be prioritized, especially in preventing and suppressing the acts through increased international solidarity and cooperation. He particularly acknowledged the support of the OIC to Nigeria and West Africa in not only countering the menace of terrorism and armed criminality, but also alleviating the attendant humanitarian crisis, saying, however, that more still needs to be done.
He made a strong statement about science, technology, and innovation, which I feel the fund that OIC has in place, if that is given to Nigeria or we are able to benefit from it, it will go a long way in promoting science, technology, and innovation in our place. He requested the OIC also to redouble their effort in the poverty alleviation in Africa.
President Buhari also applauded the decision of the OIC to support the interbasin water transfer project towards recharging Lake Chad, as well as the robust intervention of its various institutions, particularly the Islamic Development Bank Group, in the implementation of national development projects in Africa.
The issue of Lake Chad, which, as we all know, has been very dear to Mr. President's heart, especially because the livelihood of almost 30 million people is being threatened by that recession. And as you are also aware, there has been that program of recharging the Lake Chad, and OIC has now adopted a resolution that will help in recharging the Lake Chad. So that as a significant contribution not only to Nigeria in particular, but to Africa as a whole.
President Muhammadu Buhari also recognized the pivotal role of science, technology, and innovation in member states' efforts towards addressing global challenges linked to issues of environment, climate change, human health, energy sources, and water resources, saying Africa is committed to supporting collaborative research programs. From Makkah, Saudi Arabia, Adamu Sambu, NTA News.
In the meantime, member states of the Organization of Islamic Cooperation have reiterated their position against all forms and manifestations of terrorism, regardless of its motives and justifications. In a communique at the end of the Makkah Summit in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, the participating countries promised to adopt a comprehensive approach towards eradicating extremist ideology and draining the swamp terrorism breeds. And again, State House correspondent Adamu Sambu has details.
The summit, which coincided with the 50th anniversary of the organization, had in attendance leaders and heads of state of the 57 member countries. In addition to the core issues of restoring the national rights of the Palestinians and other long-standing unresolved conflicts in Syria, Yemen and Libya, the OIC also took far-reaching measures towards enhancing peace and development in member countries, while affirming its support for the Sahel region in building the capacities of the defense and security forces of member countries to counter terrorism and combat organized crimes. The organization expressed full solidarity with Nigeria and other Lake Chad Basin countries facing grave security challenges occasioned by the Boko Haram insurgency. To this end, the Council of Foreign Affairs of the OIC has been requested to mobilize political commitment as well as undertake development and humanitarian activities. The conference further confirmed the decision to support the ongoing project of recharging Lake Chad, given its socio-economic importance for member countries of the region.
Well, essentially the major takeaways include interventions and support in areas of our national priorities, and which means that Nigeria now need to leverage on these resolutions to be able to drive maximum benefit and value from these resolutions and from the support of the OIC. Essentially, you only have a takeaway when you are able to access, the possibilities and the prospects of each of these resolutions that have been passed.
African countries are encouraged to come together and handle their crisis. For example, in Nigeria, we are encouraged to work together with Niger, Chad, Cameroon, Mali, and Libya. When there is that relationship and the effort is united, it is much, much easier to handle the crisis than each country is facing its own challenges.
Participants commended the establishment of institutional mechanisms towards promoting intra-OIC trade and attaining the target of 25% of trade exchanges amongst member states by the year 2025. OIC is the second largest intergovernmental organization after the United Nations, with a collective population of nearly 2 billion people spread across 57 member countries in 4 continents of the world. From Makkah, Adamu Sambu, NTA News.
President Muhammadu Buhari will host leaders of Lake Chad Basin Commission in an informal summit on the sidelines of Democracy Day and second term inauguration celebrations on June 12, 2019 in Abuja. The meeting will focus on bringing up new strategies to end the menace of Boko Haram in the Lake Chad region. At a bilateral meeting with President Idris Deby of Chad Republic in Makkah, Saudi Arabia, where both leaders are attending the Organization of Islamic Cooperation (OIC) summit, President Buhari said it was time for a new way forward that completely removes the threat of terrorism from Lake Chad sub-region. The Nigerian and Chadian leader agreed on the need for sub-regional leaders to sit down and agree on changing the strategy for a more sustained operation. Senior Special Assistant to the President, Garba Shehu, in a statement says President Buhari and President Idris Deby also discussed the challenge posed by rainy season to military operations against terrorism, agreeing to urgently review strategies that will bolster onslaught against insurgents. The two leaders talked about how the meeting in Abuja will respond to infiltration of displaced elements of ISIS. Speaker of ECOWAS Parliament, Mustafa Siselu, has expressed displeasure over the non-attendance of members of Parliament in the just concluded first ordinary session held in Abuja. The Speaker, who stated this in a speech to close the session, says henceforth he will not allow such members to be paid requisite allowances. Joseph Orok reports.
The ECOWAS Parliament, the legislative arm of the ECOWAS, was constituted as a support body for the actualization of the integration and development programs of the West African sub-region. And so members of parliament are expected to contribute ideas for the effective implementation of the programs by the ECOWAS Commission. This, the Speaker says, has not been satisfactory as most parliamentarians, especially members from Nigeria, have not been attending sessions. These some parliamentarians react.
Well, for me that was too personal, because the parliament is not to attack individuals. Especially if you are a leader, you must be able to manage issues behind closed doors.
He also raised issues that I thought were matters that should be dealt with in-house. If somebody doesn't attend sitting and request for payment and you block it, it's an administrative matter. So you deal with it administratively.
The Speaker, however, used the forum to thank members of Parliament for efforts made in pursuing the different protocols for the integration of the sub-region and suits for the sustenance of the gesture. In Abuja, Joseph Orok, NTA News.
Activities marking the commencement of the 2019 Easter pilgrimage to Israel are underway with the evaluation of the 2018 pilgrimage report. Stakeholders from all parts of the country converged on the Nigerian Christian Pilgrim Commission in Abuja to take stock of the level of the preparedness for the pilgrimage. And Delia Tumbi tells us more.
Pilgrimage leaders and managers of Nigeria evaluating the 2018 pilgrimage report with the insight of making 2019 pilgrimage better. During the period under review, Nigerian Christian Pilgrims Commission embarked on Easter, main and women pilgrimages. In these three outings, 19,000 pilgrims participated in what was adjudged as successful. In the Easter pilgrimage, however, 255 visas were denied, while during the main, 471 intending pilgrims were also denied visas. Available statistics shows that in the Easter pilgrimage in 2018, 19 pilgrims absconded, with Rivers State topping the list with 14 abscondments, while during the main pilgrimage, 21 persons absconded, with Delta State topping the list. It is in the light of this that the Nigerian Christian Pilgrims Commission is working around the clock to continue to project the good image of the country, with emphasis on pilgrimage leaders to work hard and ensure zero abscondment.
We want to build a people that will come back and contribute to the faster development of Nigeria. We want people who will be spiritually conscious and awake, who will be developmentally alive, and who will be socially alert to teamwork in making Nigeria to work. We believe that every citizen can work with government to make something better out of our nation and to turn what we have into a meaningful industrial base.
In 2019, 19,000 pilgrims are expected to participate in the pilgrimage, with premium on quality of pilgrims and not on quantity. In Abuja, Dele Atumbi, NTA News.
And Surudin Grammar School, Surulere, Lagos, is to represent Nigeria at the third 2019 Stockholm Junior Water Prize competition, scheduled to hold in Sweden in August. This followed the school's victory at the national competition, which took place in Abuja. Butua Mila reports that 30 countries across the world are to participate in different scientific methods to provide clean water for the globe.
The Stockholm Junior Water Prize was instituted in 1997 to, among other objectives, to ensure access to clean water and eradication of water-related issues in the world. This national competition is the third in the series, which participants from 36 states and the FCT. The contestants here are between 15 and 20 years. The Federal Ministry of Water Resources says the competition is significant to the country and the world at large, as it tends to harness the potential of today's high school students in addressing current and future water challenges.
We are trying to encourage the young entrepreneurs, that's the students, to engage in a water-related experiment, and in so doing, we can't sensitize them to engage in water programs.
National organizer Mr. Ikechukwu Godwin and partners of the competition emphasized that water-related issue is a global challenge, hence the competition to raise world-class leaders from the youth to solve water problems both locally and internationally.
It's one that tends to make students try to look for solutions to environmental problems. It makes them creative.
Their ideas can actually make a difference. and something that they're thinking about in their school, for example in Lagos or Akwa Ibom, that can be sort of scaled up and used on a regional or global scale.
Is bringing ideas and trying to improve how we can have safe access to potable water.
Ansarudin Grammar School, Surulere, Lagos, came first in the competition.
When I came here, I was stupendously amazed by what I saw, and I'm really, really happy for myself and for my colleague today that we actually made it to the first position.
Stockholm Junior Water Prize is the world's most prestigious youth award for water-related scientific subjects, with the final being held annually during the World Water Week. In Abuja, Butswamila, NTA News.
If you're just joining us, this is the news on Inter International, reaching you from Abuja. Stay tuned for more news after this timeout.
One Football Confederation, 24 teams, 6 stadiums, 4 cities, 504 African stars, 1 trophy. The Africa Cup of Nations Egypt 2019 comes alive from June 21 with the showpiece final on July 19, 2019. Watch the 52 matches of the tournament live on Africa's biggest and largest television network, NTA, in partnership with Hotsports. Be part of the biggest soccer fiesta in the African continent as the Super Eagles go on a bold mission to clinch the prestigious title for the 4th time, to the excitement of millions of fans across the length and breadth of Nigeria. Nigeria's premier sports production and marketing group, Hotsports, partners with the biggest, the largest and the #1 television network in Africa, the NTA, to give Nigerians a memorable viewing experience. Boost fan support for the Super Eagles to glory in Egypt. For inquiries, please contact Abubakar on 0803-331-0175 and Felix on 0803-308-2375. NTA, you can't beat the rich.
You're welcome back. Wife of the President, Aisha Buhari, has donated various essential commodities, food items and wrappers to those affected by the activities of armed bandits in Katsina State. Mrs. Buhari, who performed the symbolic presentation in Batari local government area of the state, says the gesture is to cushion the effects of their hardship. And now turning to security matters, in continuation of its sustained airstrikes against remnants of Islamic State of West Africa province, elements of the fringes of Lake Chad, the Air Task Force of Operation Lafia Doli has severely degraded a terrorist hideout at Abaganaram in northern Borno State. The attack was executed following the discovery of the active terrorist settlement by a Nigerian Air Force intelligence, surveillance and reconnaissance platform on the routine mission. Accordingly, the ATF scrambled 2 Alpha Jet aircraft to attack the location, scoring accurate hits on 3 target compounds, which resulted in the destruction of the structures as well as the neutralization of some of the fighters. The Nigerian Air Force, operating in concert with surface forces, says it will sustain the efforts to completely degrade the terrorists in the northeast. In order to effectively stamp out corruption in the society, there is a need for proper sensitization, especially in the public service, on its implications in the system. Director General of National Office for Technology Acquisition and Promotion, NOTAP, Dan Azumi Mohammed Ibrahim, said this as the office collaborates with the Independent Corrupt Practices Commission, ICPC, to help mobilize staff in curbing corruption. This collaboration is coming on the heels of the recognition that the greatest percentage of corruption is in the public service. The NOTAP Anti-Corruption and Transparency Unit is now coming with specific objectives of convincing workers to make them understand and appreciate the import of corruption as it affects the development of any society, beginning from the office.
Though the unit had been in existence for some time, but it needed to be officially inaugurated. That is why we invited the ICPC to come and inaugurate the unit. So if any system wants to develop, if we have a cankerworm like corruption, we have to try to bring it to the barest minimum so that collectively we will move our nation forward. That sensitization exercise is very important.
This development, the Director General says, will have a multiplier effect on the general society, with a view that sensitization and consciousness remains a major weapon to use and fight corruption. Up next is a review of stories that made headlines in the past few days, and Obiageli Ugoki is our guide.
Hello and a warm welcome to the Week in Review. The 2019 presidential and governorship inauguration heralds our review this weekend. President Muhammadu Buhari this week formally began his second four-year term in office. This followed his swearing in by the acting Chief Justice of Nigeria, Justice Tanko Muhammad. Also sworn in was Vice President Yemi Osinbajo.
Continue to give us the opportunity to be peaceful so that we can perform better with the limited resources available to us relative to our requirements.
Similarly, governors were also sworn in across the Federation. Muhammadu Inowa Yahaya was sworn in as Gombe State Governor. Governor Ahmedu Umaru Fintiri was sworn in as Adamawa State Governor. Aminu Bello, Governor of Katsina State, Governor Emeka Ihediola took the oath of office as Imo State Governor, and Governor Umaru Ganduje of Kano State with promises of adequate security, economic stability and transparent government.
Security of lives and property of its citizens will not be negotiated or compromised.
Our government will embark on civil service reforms that will ensure a well-trained, well-resourced, well-equipped.
Away from 2019 inauguration, the 2019 appropriation bill of 9.92 trillion naira was signed into law by President Muhammadu Buhari.
This increase reflects changes introduced by the National Assembly. In some areas, expenses we proposed were reduced, while in other areas they were increased.
During the week, President Muhammadu Buhari visited Makkah, the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, where he participated in the summit of the Organization of Islamic Cooperation, OIC, the summit 14th in its series to be attended by all heads of state and governments of member countries, were hosted by the Saudi monarch, King Salman bin Abdulaziz.
The organization has moved away from those old perceptions. It has expanded, it has widened up, it has opened up. In OIC today, there is representation by virtually all the major countries of the world.
And from the National Assembly, we brought you a report that the Senate has confirmed the nomination of Musa Abubakar Sadiq as president of the Customary Court of Appeal. The House of Representatives held the last plenary for the 8th Assembly this week. The Court of Appeal during the week upheld the qualification of Senator Ademola Adeleke to contest in the governorship election of Osun State, ruled that trial court errs in its claims. And on news across the globe, we informed you that South African President Cyril Ramaphosa announced a new cabinet with women being half of the appointees. That's it from this end. Thanks for your time. I'm Obiageli Ugoke.
Uganda has banned the consumption and sale of alcohol in sachets, which officials say threaten public health. The smallest plastic packets of spirits, sometimes up to 45% proof, favored by those on low incomes because they are cheap, costing as little as 13 US cents. Ugandans are among the highest consumers of alcohol in Africa. Drink manufacturers in the country are now required to package liquor in bottles of not less than 200 milliliters. Uganda's Minister of Trade and Cooperatives, Amelia Kiambadi, says the sachet were even purchased by school children. And now to sports. Team Nigeria is set to pick ticket for all Africa Games volleyball qualifiers in Abuja. And Kene Magurike has details on our sports update.
All is set for the Zone 3 of the 2019 All-African Games Women Volleyball Qualifiers in Abuja, June 2 to 7, with Team Nigeria set to emulate their men's counterparts by clinching the sole ticket at the expense of Ghana, Burkina Faso and Cote d'Ivoire. The Asaba camp of Nigeria Super Eagles is expected to begin bubbling as the players and technical crew kickstart preparations for this year's Africa Cup of Nations on Sunday. This first phase of camping will see the three-time African champions play Zimbabwe in a friendly match in Asaba June 8 before another friendly against Senegal in Ismailia, Egypt.
What the coach should really do now is he should get his act right. Let us know the formation he is playing.
The second round fixtures of FIFA Under-20 World Cup begin Sunday with host Poland taking on Italy. Monday will see a West African derby as Nigeria meets Senegal while Ukraine battle Panama.
The fact that Senegal hadn't lost a match in the tournament doesn't mean that they won't lose against Nigeria. And the fact that Nigeria hadn't come up to party as expected doesn't mean they won't win and move on to the quarterfinals.
The team needs an overhaul and bring in fresher legs, infuse more experienced players that should be able to do it better at the world stage.
Meanwhile, the African Champions League final was abandoned due to a row over the video assistant referee VAR system, with play halted for over an hour after Wydad Casablanca refused to play when VAR was unavailable to judge a disallowed equalizer. The referee then awarded the victory to three-time former champions, aspirants of Tunisia, who were leading 1-0 and 2-1 on aggregate in Saturday's final, which was played over 2 legs. With sports update, Kenan Ima Aburike, NTA News.
A sports update there ends the news on Inter International. Thank you very much for watching. My name is Justin Bemunyi.